Morning, John Seeley from Seeley International. We are live this morning at Hydrogen Park here in regional Adelaide, and my guests are Frank Seeley, my father and the founder of Seeley International, and Chrissy Raman from AGIG. Chrissy, would you like to tell us a little bit about your company and about your role?
Yeah, thanks. I'd love to. So my name's Chrissy Raman and I'm Acting Executive General Manager People and Strategy at Australian Gas Infrastructure Group. So we are one of Australia's largest gas infrastructure businesses and we deliver services across the country and across the supply chain. And importantly, in the context of today, we are the country's largest gas distribution provider. So what we do is we supply natural gas or gas services to customers in South Australia, in Victoria, in regional New South Wales and in Queensland and the Northern Territory.
And we're here at Hydrogen Park. What is the significance of hydrogen? Because I guess most of our gas that we're talking about is natural gas. And of course there is some concern because that's a fossil fuel. It's a non-renewable resource ultimately. We understand that it burns very cleanly, much cleaner than others. But what is the significance of hydrogen?
Yeah, and I mentioned before that we deliver gas to customers, but what we actually do is we deliver energy to customers that customers don't necessarily always think about it. They just want to turn on their stove or their hot water and their industrial appliances and get the fuel, and that's what we do. So we own the infrastructure in the ground, and at the moment it does provide natural gas, which has been an incredibly important part for the economy and for industry growing and for people in their homes and businesses. But as a business, we are committed to being part of that low carbon future. We have a board endorsed and public strategy about achieving that, and that's to have 10% renewable gas in our networks at least by 2030 and to have 100% renewable gas by 2040 as a stretch target, or by no later than 2050. So to do that, we can use our assets to deliver renewable gas like hydrogen, and so customers can use it the same way they use natural gas today.
Perhaps I'll just throw to you, Frank. You're, among other things, the owner of a company which makes more than half of the gas appliances made in Australia for residential heating every year. But you're also a member of Australian Gas Association, the AGA board. So what's the significance of gas from your perspective?
Well, gas is very, very important to this nation of ours. And I hope, Chrissy, that you achieve the stretch target, because I want to see it before I die, and I'm already 80, so make sure it comes in
the next 30 years or so. It would be great.
2040.
Yeah, very good.
But look, hydrogen has so much going for it. It's a clean fuel. Yes, there are some things produced, but far less than even with natural gas, which is called the clean energy and has been for some long time. And of course, what natural gas brought us was getting rid of coal gas, where there were a lot of nasties in it. So it's been a great improvement. But the fact is, hydrogen's the next step, and it's where we want to go, and it's where we need to go. And I want to just caution against herd mentality, because we've seen this happen so often, particularly in the last 20 years or so. People said coal-fired generator plants, they're bad news, get rid of them. And before you knew where we are, Australia was underpowered. And we don't want to do that. We want to do it sensibly. We want to do it in an orderly fashion. We want to avoid a stampede. And I think we can do that. But I think to do it, we have to get the public with us, and we have to get them thinking the way we're thinking as to the cleanness of the fuel and the benefits of the fuel. I mean, when you burn it, what do you get? Water.
So you're referring there to a transition, and an orderly transition.
Yes.
Because I think there's broad agreement across society that we need to move away from fossil fuels.
Yes.
But as you said, the stampede, some people with good intent can become ideologically wedded to full-scale electrification right now. And what is the implication in Australia? You've got a good insight to the energy network in Australia. What's the implication in Australia if we electrify too fast?
Yeah, it will have significant impacts in terms of cost to the customer, in terms of reliability, and in terms of security. I mean, you've got to think about it. At the moment, as a country, in terms of energy, we rely on electricity, which is delivered through electricity networks. We rely on gas, which is delivered through the underground gas pipelines, the networks that we own. And we rely on liquid fuels like we use in our cars and in our transport system. If we go to electrification, you're reducing that down to one energy delivery mechanism. And in terms of security and reliability, that's going to have massive impacts. The other thing about gas that people don't necessarily appreciate is it has an incredible energy storage mechanism. So I think there was a stat a while ago that the gas storage we have in the country today is equivalent to billions of Tesla Powerwalls, just to try and put it in context. So gas is a great carrier of energy. And so if we were to electrify everything and remove that, we'd need incredible investment in things like storage and indeed on electricity networks just to carry the increased load of gas and transport. So why would we need to do that when we've got pipes under the ground today that can take a renewable product and deliver it to customers who indeed need gas? And there's been modelling done that shows that by converting natural gas to renewable gas by sort of 2050, customers could receive, it would be about 50% cheaper to them than the alternate, which is electrification. And that's just because it avoids the investment and storage and new networks.
That's absolutely true. And while you two have been speaking, I've been thinking about the other thing that's going to impact this, and that is electric cars. Now, that they are going to take a huge amount of power. And to even think of cutting off gas at a time when the power requirement is going to double at least and maybe treble is very, very poor thinking. It
doesn't make sense.
It's silly.
Yeah, absolutely. So perhaps you could just say some more about what's going on around us and why we have Hydrogen Park.
Yeah, well, big question, and a topic that's clearly dear to my heart. So you're quite right. Here at Hy-per-Se, it is a demonstration facility, and it's a very important term because hydrogen isn't new. People think of it as this new energy source. We actually use it around the country today in industry. We're just using it in a different way now, and we're producing it in a different way using renewables. So here at Hy-per-Se, as you say, we're taking water from the local network, and I must point out a question we always get asked is, what about water? As you said, Frank, it's incredibly important, and that's correct. If we were to convert all of South Australia's gas distribution network to renewable hydrogen using electrolysis, it would increase our annual water consumption by about 2%. So it is something we take very seriously, water and water sustainability, but it doesn't use an incredible amount of water, and there's always innovation going around about how we can make it lower. But we take water and we take renewable electricity, as you said, for this facility when it's times of excess, when the wind is blowing at night or there's excess solar in the middle of the day, and that can actually help the electricity network. So again, when I said it's not about one versus the other, it's about making them both more efficient and effective. So rather than waste renewable electricity when it's not needed by the electricity networks, we can use it to create something, hydrogen, splitting the H2 and O out from water to something that we can use in industry and in homes and businesses. So that's what we're doing here, and that's something that we're looking to replicate across the country.
Perfect. Where's this hydrogen from this plant going at the moment, Chrissy?
Yeah, it goes to more than 700 local homes here on our distribution network. So customers in a suburb called Mitchell Park, where they use it in their home and appliances, and they've been fantastic. We've been engaging with these customers since before we began production. We didn't want to just change their gas without them realising it. And overarchingly, I mean, the response was, why haven't you been doing this sooner? Of course you should be doing it. When can my friend in the next suburb over get it? Of course, they had questions. They wanted to make sure they understood it.
What were their concerns? Were there any concerns? Or?
Most of the time people wanted just to know about safety, which I think is a completely fair concern. And overarchingly, we wouldn't do anything if it wasn't safe. It's our number one concern, the safety of our customers, our community and our employees. Using blended renewable gas is as safe to use as natural gas.
Brilliant. I might pass to you, Frank, because your company manufactures more than 50% of the gas heaters sold in Australia every year. Are they ready to run hydrogen? What's the situation?
We are hydrogen ready.
Hydrogen ready, okay.
And we intend to stay hydrogen ready.
Great.
We have hydrogen, a product which is burning only hydrogen, a heater, and there's been some challenges with that, but they've made some great progress, and we'll be ready probably by the time it goes to 10%.
Yes. We'll be ready for 100% by the time. Yes.
Oh, yes,
so
absolutely.
at the moment, our heaters are being used in the homes that are using that blend at the moment, and that's perfectly fine. So to your point, hydrogen ready. It's ready right now, and the heaters are being used with the blend. If I buy a heater now, and then in a few years' time, is there going to be more hydrogen in the network? Will it be ready? And our commitment at Seeley International is to make sure that all of our heaters remain ahead of that curve, so that as hydrogen's adopted as a blend and then eventually 100%, that our heaters are always ready for that.
Absolutely.
Chrissy, and it actually feeds into the sovereignty of Australian manufacturing. I don't know if that's something you want to talk about, Frank, but just the ability, some of the push to renewables in Australia has a tendency to just offshore our manufacturing.
Look, I think if the problems with China have shown us anything, they've shown us the need for Australia to do its own manufacturing.
Yeah.
And we are seeing people who are prepared to pay more for components, a lot more for components than they would from China, so that they can buy them from Australia.
Right.
And that is a great thing to be able to see and to promote and help. And we want to be part of that.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of Australian manufacturing and industry which physically cannot run on 100% electricity. It requires gas because of the energy intensity that gas can provide for those industries. And those industries are making and providing the goods and services that we all want to be produced here in Australia now and into the future. It's something that Seeley International is invested in, we're committed to, and we're investing money now in our R&D to make sure that we stay ahead of that curve, so that we can contribute and facilitate and enable customers all across Australia to use hydrogen as and when it's provided to them. Chrissy, perhaps you could just comment also in terms of what's happening internationally regarding hydrogen as part of our renewable energy future.
In terms of the more residential uses like we're doing here, there are projects across the world doing various blends up to even 20%. And as I said, we're doing 5% here and 10% in Gladstone, so up to 20%. And there's a lot of work about converting places to 100%, just like we're saying here. So in Leeds, there was a project called H21 about how indeed you would do that there. And again, it just really emphasises the fact that we are not alone in this. The whole world is looking at it because they know decarbonisation is a big challenge, and that represents a good opportunity for us as well. We can be real leaders here. We have a lot of the capabilities and the natural resources to deliver renewable hydrogen, but we should make sure that we are using it domestically first, and then we can look to access the opportunities either through technology and learnings like our appliances, but indeed also through potentially providing hydrogen to others. But we must, look after our own population first in our domestic sector, and then we can look to access those opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's very important that we can be leaders, but we don't have to be gladiators.
Yeah.
And nobody need lose out of this. Yeah. The only way that'll happen is if there is, as I said before, the herd mentality, and governments often are as responsible for that as anybody else.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And we absolutely need an orderly transition to a net zero future. And hydrogen, renewable hydrogen, just produces or provides such a key part of that. As you said, as a store of energy, the intermittent energy produced from renewables when it can't be used, and a very clean way of doing that. And then also a way of utilising the existing energy infrastructure, which if we abandon the gas infrastructure is just an incredible negative impact, incredible negative footprint environmentally, to just build twice or three times as many wires and transformers and everything else if we go 100% electrification.
Yeah, very good point.
Great. Well, that's it from us here at Hydrogen Park SA. Thank you very much, Chrissy and Frank, for the insights you've given to help us have a better understanding of a renewable future using renewable hydrogen. Thanks a lot.